Hello and welcome to this, the fifth in a series of instructional videos on AECOsim Building Designer V8i. In this session, we'll be looking at breaking up a model to hand it out to our project team members. We'll be looking at placing, editing, modifying walls. We'll be looking at roofs, and we'll be looking at structure. So let's start with structure, and we need to export this out to our structural engineers for them to complete their design work and their analysis. The easiest way to do that is come to Element Selection, twirl down this Show Extended Settings icon here. We're presented with a cornucopia of tabs and information. The one we need is one called Level. You can see that we have quite a comprehensive data set inside our fledgling BIM model. What we need to do is thin that down a bit. So we're going to come to our Attributes toolbar, click on the pull down. If we scroll all the way to the top, we click on Filter None, and our Recall Filter dialog box opens. If we scroll all the way down to the bottom and double click on Used, all of a sudden that list gets an awful lot smaller. We're just going to select the two cols, slab conc, and there we have our structural members. We're going to then come to our File, pull down, and Export DGN. Before we start naming things, we need to come to our Options, and in our Options, check on the filter geometry. We just need the selection set. And also make sure that none of those radio buttons down below are checked, and then just click OK. We're going to highlight this, and we're going to call it S-frame, and now click Save. Once you've done that, you have the delight of just pressing the delete key on your keyboard, and the structure is now deleted. But from here, we're now going to export this file out to start our construction modeling in earnest. But before we do that, we need to take off the atrium because we're going to play with that very shortly. And to do that, we need Building Designer's own version of a cheese wire. And that, in our task-based interface, is called a smart line. Once we click on Place Smart Line, our segment type is lines, vertex is sharp, and our join elements is checked. After that, you may want to hit your spacebar to activate AccuDraw and just type in LS. What that does, it turns off the lock that would otherwise mandatorily snap us to a certain plane. Gives us a bit of freedom to design here. And we need to come down to this return just here. Click once, hit the F key to rotate your AccuDraw compass, come all the way down to the intersection here and click AccuDraw and AccuSnap, helping us out to do that so efficiently and coming out into the model. Once you've done that, you head north and you can see AccuDraw, AccuSnap is helping us out wherever we go, throwing out construction lines for us. We need to click there once and there to join this whole thing up, and you see you have this rectangle. Once we do that, we come to our Solid Modeling tab. We come to the penultimate row, last icon, Cut Solids by Curve. Make sure your direction is both, your mode is through, and check the Split Solid radio button there, because what you need to do now is just check the solid once, check your profile once, it has two green arrows, check it again, and third time's lucky. And now, if you reset with your right mouse key, you'll find out we have two different solids, and that's taken off via a profile. Okay, we're going to come to Level Display for a moment, turn on our spaces, and now we're going to close that down because what we need to do is export this out. We can come here to our element selection again and click this icon, select all, and we go to File, Export, DGN. And we're going to call this one A underbar external walls and click Enter. Now to swap into that file to begin the construction modeling side of it, we'll just come past our task-based interface to Project Explorer. We're going to twirl down the project directories, the building sample and designs, and in there we're just going to double click on A underbar external walls DGN. Our conceptual model switches out for our construction design model now, and what we're going to do, the first thing is come back to our Solid Modeling tab, the last row, penultimate icon, Extract Faces and Edges, because we need to extract our atrium and a bit of our roof. In our Extract Faces and Edges dialog box, your extract is faces and the rest is as they are, because what we're going to do is we're going to click on that face, and you can see that Building Designer highlights the face to give you some idea of where you are as you pass your cursor around. Select it twice to say that is, and three times to say to accept the extraction. Again, the front, and here we're going to come up to the top, click on View Rotate, and we're going to move around here so we see the other face. Just right click to reset. I'm going to say accept that, and now we can just click this button here to come back here, and the last thing we need to do is do our roof. And there we have it, because from that point onwards, you just right click to reset, select the conceptual massing of it and hit the delete key, because now we have our atrium shape. We're going forwards. All we need to do now, before we move onwards one step further, is apply some parts to it. So we're going to come to our main task-based interface here. Along the top till we get to this icon, click and hold, and come down to apply part. In the dialog, say the family is going to be curtain walls, and under curtain wall in the part, we need material CW glazing. And we need to have these two radio buttons checked too. With that, we can come in here to our model. We can now start adding the necessary information to our model. With that, let's go and start creating some walls. We're going to turn on our level display and turn on our areas again. Close that down, because we're going to generate our walls based off the areas, so they're dynamically linked together. To do that, come to Architectural Design tab in your task-based interface. You're going to go to the second row, third icon in, Create Walls from Spaces. With that dialog box open, you'll need to click on this jump box here, and the materials that we want is precast concrete. The height, we're going to override the height in our data set because we're going to choose the condominium floor first. We're going to put in 11 foot and 1 foot thick. We've got phasing and rating there also that we can include. We're just going to click on the outline of that space. It highlights, click inside the space and click once more. And your walls start appearing. We're going to do the next two levels very quickly. They're going to be precast concrete, but the measurements are slightly different because these are slightly higher. So we're going to come in here and we're just going to choose 16 feet 4 inches and 1 foot. We're going to come in here, click the space, 1, 2, 3. And now if we wanted to change any of the measurements, we could actually just come here to our history. And our history shows us any of the measurements we've used previously. So in this case, we're lucky enough to have the same measurements of 16 foot 4 and 1 foot. And now that means that we can come down to this other space here. And finally, our ground floor, we're going to change the material because we're going to zoom in here and choose brick. And again, let's use our history just very quickly. 16 foot, just in case anything changes. 1 foot for the thickness. Come in here, highlight the space, click inside, and once more to set. And our walls have been set. The next thing we can do now is simply select our conceptual model and hit the delete key, because we now have the formation of our construction model, and we can go and change some perhaps different displays to actually see our model in. Okay, the great thing about using Create Walls from Spaces is that if I come in here, highlight this, right click and say move, and I select this wall and I move this wall out, you can see the space dynamically alters with it, so that reports, any of the reports that are based on this, are updated immediately. It is synced together in the background of the building information modeler and building designer itself. So let's press Ctrl Z to return back, because now we want to add in our structure, and the best way to do that is come back to Project Explorer and to come down to that S-frame model that we had. What we need to do is twirl down S-frame, highlight design model, and just drag and drop it into our view. Our attachment method is going to be coincident, and all we have to do is click OK. There we have it. We have our columns, we have our floors, we have our atriums. It's all there ready for us. The one thing that we're missing now is the roof. We're going to place a parapet roof around here, and to do that, let's come to the second row, first icon, Place Wall. The Place Wall dialog box opens, and instead of clicking on the jump box to choose our wall, we're going to choose this icon here to match catalog item and properties. With that, we can click on the same wall that our condominiums is made from, and straight away, the Place Wall dialog box reflects that. Precast concrete, 11 feet high, 1 feet thick, but we just want to change that one more time. We're going to say 3 foot by 1 foot. And so now, all you need to do now before you leave this dialog is to make sure the Close Radio button is checked. We'll use AccuDraw and AccuSnap to help us chart our way around the structure, quickly and easily placing this dwarf parapet wall. And as soon as you get to the last point, you just have to right click and it's set. Now to complete this whole exercise, what we're going to do here is right click on this wall, choose copy, we're going to come to the center point here, and we're going to enter into AccuDraw 27. We're going to offset it by 27 feet. With that, we're going to start cleaning up these walls. We come to our third row down, to our mitered finish here. We're going to choose this one like that, and this wall like that. And then the original walls that we placed down, we'll need to have those connected as a T. So we're going to choose this existing wall and this new section here, and this one across here. Okay, cleaned up, it's professional, it does exactly what it should be required to do. And now we need to be able to connect our walls to the underside of what is our curved surface, but it's got to be called a roof first. So we're going to come to our solid modeling taskbar, to the fourth row down, second icon in, modify solid entity. And inside there we're going to choose a second icon interface. Our distance is going to be 1 foot, and we're going to extrude the faces. With that, we're going to select our curved surface. It goes hatched, select it second time to make it locked in, and then just click once again off, and you will see it thicken by 1 foot. Now we need to get the walls in. To do that, very, very efficient with Building Designer, because all we need to do is right click on a wall, come to modify wall geometry, and inside that dialog choose the first icon in, modify the height, and the method is going to be to form or shape. With that, we need to click on our solid that represents our roof at the moment, then move off it and left click, right click, and then just come in here and click once. And then just move around the walls, and there you have it. There is our curved surface. As our walls have now been projected up to the underside of that curved surface. So the next thing we have to do is to actually select all our floors. So I'm going to change our view display to transparent with some shadows, just give me some look in because of those columns. I'm going to also change this to a front view, and what I'm going to do now is use a selection set. So I'm going to come in here and do that, and I'm going to take out of this the 2 floors. So all I have is the bottom floor outer skin, and with that what I'm going to do is pass my cursor over it, right click, and say modify selected component. In that I'm going to look at the catalog type, and I'm going to say wall and click on OK. The modify wall dialog box comes up, and I need to click on this jump box here, and we need to close down single layer walls and look at compound one, because the one we need is this top one here. And with that we need to click once in our view, and our walls have now been set. If we come back to our right isometric and change our display style again, you can see that we have indeed changed all our walls. But as you can also see here, that if we zoom into our walls, we have actually got the surfaces on the wrong side. So all we need to do here is actually select the wall and click on one of these arrows here. So now that we have all of our elements together for this session, we need to export one more drawing out. We're going to come down to our elevation here, have a selection set from right to left, highlight everything that we've placed down, our parapet walls, our curved roof surface, and the walls that came up to meet them. Come up to File, Export, DGN. And with that, we'll give it the name. First off, we'll come to our options, filter, geometry is only the selection set, remember that. And then we will give this the name A-roof, and we'll save that away. This has been number 5 in a series of instructional videos on AECOsim Building Designer V8i. Thank you very much.